Also on Capitol Hill, Energy Secretary Stephen Chu becoming somewhat accustomed to difficulty when he testifies before the House Energy and Commerce Committee and its subcommittees. The Nobel Prize-winning physicist couldn't tell Congress how many green energy companies have received Obama administration federal loan guarantees, nor could he tell them how many of those companies are now on a watch list for possible bankruptcy.
How about how many loans are on the, what I think you call the watch list? That shouldn't be proprietary.
Well, I don't have the exact number, but
is it a double-digit number? Is it, you know, is it between 1 and 10, 10 and 20?
Well, what we I don't again recall the exact number.
Joining us now, the congressman who asked Secretary Chu for just a few answers about the green energy loans, Energy and Commerce Committee member, Congressman Joe Barton. Good to have you with us, Congressman. Are you surprised a Nobel Prize-winning physicist wouldn't be able to give you what seems like very basic information about a program that's been a focus of your inquiries in the committee and the national media for a very long time now?
Well, you've got to understand, Lou, that I was asking him a real tough question. He is, after all, only a former director of a major national research laboratory and a Nobel Prize winner. So when I asked him about a little basic math, is it a number between 1 and 10 or 10 and 20, I guess I'm just asking too much on behalf of the taxpayers that he be able to recollect that. But the list of loans is public. We know how many companies have received the loans, and we'll just go through them if we have to, one by one, and do our own inquiry.
To be honest with you, Congressman, I'm a little surprised that you all haven't already done that. I mean, we're pretty well down the road here.
We have focused, you know, on Solyndra, and you want to have your ducks all lined up. We still haven't gotten all the documents from the White House on that. But as you point out, we are down the road, and we only have another 9 months in this Congress. So we need to find out about the scope of the problem. My guess is it's bigger rather than smaller, and it's more intense rather than less intense. And the Secretary knows that, but he doesn't want to admit it. And what he does understand is the public, the voters, have a right to know, and we're going to help get that information.
Well, have you sorted out exactly where Secretary Chu and this administration are when it comes to the efficacy and attractiveness of lower gasoline prices? Do we have a clear read now on that from this administration, Energy Secretary?
Well, the President talks a good game about domestic energy production, and he wants to do more with natural gas, but he's not really pushing a natural gas bill. He claims that the government invented hydraulic fracturing, which is, at best, a gross misstatement of fact. But yet the EPA and the Interior Department, they go out of their way to stymie permits, to stop projects. We had a hearing yesterday on gasoline prices, and in that hearing, it takes 3 to 7 years to get a permit to drill on federal lands. In Texas, on private lands, it takes 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, it's quite a process, isn't it? And it's quite a claim by this administration. Let's turn to Secretary Chu's comments regarding oil production. And you know, to me, it's personally my personal view is it's very frustrating to hear people talk about 10-year plans to bring online crude oil. But the Secretary said the production of petroleum liquids has risen significantly, and in that he is correct. But numbers from, and we want to quote this and put this up on the air if we may, Congressman, and for all the folks at home watching you, the Secretary said, based on these numbers from the Institute for Energy Research, the administration shouldn't be claiming much credit, if any, for oil production. Oil production, in fact, on federal lands has decreased by 11%.
Right.
Natural gas production has actually fallen by 6%, to just make it very clear what we're watching there. Oil production on state and private lands, and this goes to your point about how long it takes to get a permit in Texas, has actually risen by 14%, while natural gas on those private and state lands has risen by 12%. What does Secretary Chu say when confronted with that reality?
Well, he hauls. I would point out that the use of hydraulic fracturing in shale oil in Texas is going to lead to about 400,000 barrels of oil production per day this year, and that could triple in the next 6 to 7 years. Up in North Dakota, they may hit 1 million barrels a day up there, and 7 or 8 years ago they were probably producing 100,000 barrels a day. So the private sector and domestic producers will work with the right market signals if we have the infrastructure in place and let them do their job. And on the public lands, it's a different story. The federal lands are basically, for all the rhetoric, off limits for any kind of a comprehensive production program.
And off limits, we should be very clear, by decree from this president and his administration. It's that straightforward.
It's like he is on the Keystone Pipeline.
Right.
You know, he says he's not against it, but he calls senators to vote against it. Yeah. Well, he's not against domestic energy production, but his administration really doesn't do anything to foster it.
Yeah, I've never seen so much help for something a man supported as this president has applied in behalf of the Keystone Pipeline. Congressman, always good to talk with you. Thanks for being here. Congressman Joe Barton.
Thank you, Lou.